First off, I want to thank the brave men and women who work behind the wall. I want to thank them on a national level because their job goes unrecognized.
How did they try to turn a guard?
Well, correctional officer. Sorry, I apologize. But correctional officer.
How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk. Crazy story coming out of Missouri. Amy Murray, prison nurse, decides to kill her husband so she can be with an inmate. Inmate's name is Eugene Claypool. He is in prison for murdering a lottery winner because he believed that they had $10,000 stashed in their house. Now, Amy Murray, she decides to kill her husband by poisoning him with antifreeze and then lighting the house on fire. Her alibi was she was at McDonald's, and when she got home, the house was already on fire. She couldn't get in there to save him, and they obviously were quick to debunk that. They saw McDonald's wrappers on the kitchen counter, and then when they did the autopsy, they found that he had been poisoned with antifreeze. So, how does this happen? Like, how do we get to a point where we're that in love with an inmate that we're willing to take out our spouse, our loved one? I mean, right after this happened, she makes a phone call to the inmate saying he's dead. Now we can be together. So, what we're going to do when we come back from our sponsors, we're going to explore this a little bit because we've seen this before. Don't forget, in June of 2015, Joyce Mitchell case. At one point, she wanted to free herself from her husband so she could be with Matt and Sweat. So the option was I do this for you, you take out my husband. So this isn't unique. This happens. But I want to explore it a little bit because there's some questions that I feel that we should get answered, and maybe through the comments we can have a real good discussion on this topic, but not so much specifically this topic, but maybe a general discussion on why this happens, because the public will read these comments and they'll understand a little bit more about the manipulation process, if this even is a manipulation process. I mean, at one point, how much do we put onus on the individual for either allowing it to happen, or maybe that was their intent to begin with? Maybe the inmate didn't have to do much manipulation at all in this case. Maybe the intent from the get-go from the prison nurse was, I want to be with this guy and I'm going to pursue him. So sometimes we put a lot of onus on the inmate, manipulating the staff member to gain favor with the staff member. But sometimes you could have those staff members who pursue the relationship themselves. It's crazy. It seems crazy, but it happens. So now it's like a two-way street. So we get back from our sponsors, we're going to explore this a little bit. So guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talks for you brave men and women that work in corrections, so please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. I stand by for our sponsor.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it. It's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Thank you guys for listening to my sponsor. There's a lot of questions here that are left to be answered. She's a nurse. Her interaction with the inmate should be very limited. So how did it get to the point where she fell so madly in love with him? Did the inmate play a game in that short amount of time he had with her? Was he able to exploit her vulnerabilities? What was her prescribed role in relationship to him? Did she supervise his care? Did she handle the meds? Was he a porter for them? I mean, there's so many questions that have to be answered for us to explore this topic to see, was she manipulated or did she pursue this relationship on her own? Maybe there could have been an initial interaction between him and her that looked rather friendly, like a compliment. And then he waited to see how she responded to that compliment. And maybe it built from there. But we do know definitely that some communication between them happened on a personal time, right? It happened with a phone call made to the prison, right? Because when her husband was taken out, she called him and said, hey, my husband's dead, we can be together. So maybe that's where the relationship blossomed. But again, it got to the point where she felt it was okay to call him. What I always tell people in my profession is sometimes we don't know we're being played sometimes games are so subtle and slow moving that we really don't know that we're being played at all. So we do expect our peers to police us a little bit. But when you start making phone calls to the inmate, you know right off the bat you've crossed the line because you're doing it probably in secret. So when that happens, you already know I've crossed the line. This is done. So at that point, because it's made obvious, you could do the right thing. The right thing is, you know what? I'm too close to this inmate. There's a problem here. And report it. It's crazy to say that, but the reason why I'm saying it is because you're aware of what you're doing is wrong. And now I'm asking you to man up and do what's right. See, the problem is once she made that phone call, once she communicated with that inmate, leverage has been created. Now the inmate has something on her that he can utilize. And the problem is the control goes from her to him. And that's a big problem in this profession. We never want to give the inmates power of control. So the moment you crossed the line, the moment that you were taken out of your prescribed role, you had the option now to report that. I mean, I know a lot of people that are very self-aware and they know the environment that works best for them. And they have come and said, hey, listen, I can't work here for these reasons. I need to go. And it puts a little onus on management, but also, hey, you got to be professional in what you do. I'm not saying that, but at least you're making us aware. Like I can tell you right now, I know a lot of male officers that don't want to work with female inmates. So they avoid going to those facilities to be employed because for them, it's not their environment. They're very self-aware, and I can't fault them, and I don't think it's a weakness. I think it actually takes a lot of strength to say, hey, I can't work in this environment. Now, going back to Amy Murray, maybe the job from the get-go wasn't for you. You know, maybe like Joyce Mitchell, you're looking for this attention and you got it. But the question is, do you become the one that pursues it? Or does he manipulate you to bring you closer? I mean, in some cases here, yeah, you could manipulate the unwilling. Sad to say, it's a slower game. It's a process, but it could happen. But the easier targets, the ones that the inmates are going to invest their time on, are the ones that are willing, have that vulnerability, less of a obstacle that they have to kind of maneuver around. So I don't know what type of target that you presented to the inmate, and I also don't know if the environment was permissive to that. But again, what I get right off the bat right now is that you had these communications with the inmate outside of work, calling him on the phone. I don't know what type of communication or interactions you had with the inmate behind the wall. I guess that's yet to be discovered. But the thing is, at one point you knew what you were doing was wrong because the communication you had was in secret. So because you're having it in secret, you know what you're doing is wrong, and you had the chance to report it. I'm too involved. I have to do something. I'm too involved with this inmate. Best piece of advice I ever got from anybody was, Gange, if you ever start thinking about an inmate when you're home and on your personal time, I don't care what it's for, you're too involved. You're too involved. And that was the best piece of advice anybody could ever give me. Because I can't even imagine myself being home playing with my kids, my wife right next to me, and I'm thinking about this girl. So I can't imagine her. She's with her kids, playing with her kids, got her husband next to her. And again, I don't understand the relationship between her and her husband, but there's still no excuse. And you're thinking about an inmate behind the wall. You should know at that point you were being played. The adverse to that is maybe it was you that was pursuing it. Maybe you chased after that individual because you were longing for attention and this person found a way to balance it out. But either way, I'm very curious to see where this story goes. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. We'll love your thoughts on this. As always, guys, stay safe.